back in 2003, Dan Noyes and ABC7's I-Team led an investigation into the treatment of animals for the process of making the delicacy foie gras. Now, that investigation resulted in legislation that left activists celebrating and the culinary community polarized. Now, joining us now with an update on the story and a preview of his segment tonight on ABC7, ABC7 News right here at 6, is I-Team's Dan Noyes. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. Good to be here.
It's hard to believe that it's been 8 years since that investigation already. So let's talk about some of the changes. So July 1st is when new regulation, a ban is supposed to go into effect.
Ban goes into effect July 1st, and I know that we're going to be a little tame with the video here, but at 6 o'clock we'll show you everything. And it's all about the force feeding of these ducks. Basically they have a device that's about this long, a metal pipe about this big around, and they put it down the duck's throat, shoot a pound of corn into the duck at a time. That's 3 times a day. So think about that. That's about a quarter of your body weight. Think about sitting down to a plate of 30 pounds of pasta at a sitting. So that's 3 times a day for 3 weeks. And the aim is to expand their liver to 10 times the normal size. So you're talking about, the size of a tangerine up to this massive organ in this duck. And towards the end of the process, they don't feel very well. Some of them can't walk. And there are some pretty graphic images that we'll show you at 6 o'clock tonight.
All right, now since we have this ban that's pending again in July, have you noticed in your investigation that there has been any kind of decrease in the cruel treatment or the number of producers of foie gras?
Well, there are basically 2 producers in this country, one in New York and one near Stockton. And so they've still been operating. And you talk about the 8 years since the ban was passed. Well, they gave them 8 years to come up with some more humane alternatives. And it looks like they haven't. And that's one thing we're showing you tonight. We're going to take you on this new undercover raid that the activists did just recently. They went back inside this farm near Stockton called Sonoma Foie Gras. And they documented the conditions. You'll see the impact on the ducks. You'll see that they rescued several of the birds. And I went and saw them a few weeks later to see how they're recovering. But they'll show you the impact of the force feeding on the ducks, and it is pretty dramatic.
All right, now what's the penalty if a restaurant gets caught or continues to serve foie gras after July?
$1,000 fine per occurrence. So every time you pass that plate across the table, $1,000.
Now, are they going to be strict right from the very beginning, or do you think it's going to be lax enforcement? I mean, there are a lot of crimes and a lot of resources are not what we need to take care of everything.
Well, it's actually 2 prongs because, the main law enforcement is out there in San Joaquin County. So it's up to the sheriff there to enforce the part where you can't force feed a duck.
Okay.
I've placed the phone call to the sheriff. I mean, look, it's a farming community. And I made the call today. Hey, I want to know, are you going to enforce this ban? He hasn't called me back. Past stories, this guy never calls me back. So that's a question. But in terms of San Francisco, I talked to the health department today. They will enforce the ban as part of their restaurant permitting process. So it does have some teeth. But some chefs, get this, they go, maybe we won't sell foie gras, but you know what? I'm going to sell a $20 salad, and I'm going to put some free foie gras on top after the ban.
So as long as you're not selling it, they're not in violation of the law? Is that what the deal is?
That's what they think. But I would think that there are some attorneys, maybe some law enforcement, maybe so the health department might see it differently. But that's what they're thinking.
All right, well, let's tell folks again, they can catch your special report, new undercover video on culinary cruelty. That's hard to say 5 times.
That is.
Culinary cruelty.
Better you than me.
On ABC7 News at 6. Thanks for coming by, Dan.
Thank you, Brian.